The purpose of these lessons is to show you the logic behind the most basic Chinese characters, beginning with the simplest pictograms and later combining these elements to create more complex characters. This lesson contains 10 characters, 7 of which are based on that same oracle bone pictogram, shang, that appeared in lesson 77. Shang depicts an altar with 2 sacred objects placed on either side. A mouth represents appeals for favor from the spirit world. The placement of these objects atop this raised altar indicated that, although separate and distinct, they were equally worthy and deserving of such status. As explained in lesson 77, the modern meanings of shang include to value, esteem, to honor something literally above and separate from the rest. This leads us to today's first character, composed of shang, above the earth radical tu. Pronounced second tone, tang, tang. It represents a raised foundation of earth and stones, upon which a huge temple or palace was constructed. Shang is the phonetic and provides the idea of high and greatly esteemed. And since temples were for ancestor worship, tang is also the word to distinguish one's cousins on the paternal side. In other words, cousins having the same grandfather or great-grandfather, because they belong to the same clan. Today, tang can refer to the main room of a house, a hall, or any room with a specific purpose. Or, as just mentioned, one's cousins, but only on the paternal side. 讲堂里很大，坐得下几百人。The lecture hall is huge, with seating for 700 people. 他早上跟堂哥都在食堂吃早餐。In the morning, she eats breakfast with her cousin in the dining hall. 天堂 is the translation for the Western idea of heaven. 你认为那样的行为上得了天堂吗? Do you think you'll get into heaven with such behavior? Since tang represents a large temple or palace, the phrase tang tang zheng zheng is used to describe a person whose appearance is impressive, dignified, a person whose actions are open and above board. 要如何去生活才能成为堂堂正正的人? How does one live to be seen as dignified and distinguished? In Mandarin, 东西 is a catch-all phrase that can refer to just about anything. Our next expression is similar in scope, 明堂, originally indicating a stately clan temple, but now more commonly used to mean an achievement, success, or result, something those ancestors would definitely be proud of. 你们两个在搞什么名堂? What are you two up to? In other words, what are you trying to accomplish by what you're doing? 问了半天，也没有问出个名堂。I questioned him for a long time, but couldn't get anything out of him. 若有机会，他可以弄出一点名堂来。If given a chance, she'll be able to accomplish something. 这件事，我认为不会搞出什么名堂来。I doubt we'll achieve anything useful out of this. Today's second character combines shang with the cowrie shell, bei, as a symbol for money. Since shang represents honor and reverence shown to one's ancestors, By adding the cowrie shell, it becomes the character for bestowing or granting an award to honor and show appreciation to someone in the real world. After all, spirits have no use for money. This character is pronounced third tone. Shang, shang. Shangjin is monetary reward. 你把我女儿追回来，就有赏金可得。There's a reward if you bring my daughter back. 天黑了以后，我们坐在凉亭里聊天赏月。After dark, we sat in a wayside pavilion, chatting and enjoying the full moon. The Mid-Autumn Festival is an official holiday celebrated when a full moon occurs in mid to late September. 赏月 is when friends and family come together to enjoy the full moon on this evening, while also eating mooncakes and pomelos, a fruit like a grapefruit. Some families also sit around a small barbecue grill on the ground and roast skewers of meat and seafood. 4月份，东京是赏樱花的景点。During the month of April, Tokyo is the place to be for viewing cherry blossoms. Cherry trees are well known both in Japan and Taiwan for their delicate blossoms. And since we've learned all its components before, I've included the character for cherry tree in this lesson. It's composed of the character for a woman's shell necklace, ying, which, as we saw in lesson 34, also referred to an infant hanging at its mother's breast. The necklace was chosen for the cherry tree because the string of beads around a woman's neck resembles round cherries strung together. At least, that's how my official Chinese dictionary says the phonetic element was chosen. And it just may help you to remember the character. Now we have two examples of an idiom. 赏心悦目, literally, to find the scenery pleasing to both the eye and the mind. 到垂柳林中走一走，往往使人赏心悦目。Strolling among the willow trees is a pleasure both for the eyes and the mind. 田野外是赏心悦目的森林地。Beyond the farmlands lies a beautiful, quiet forest. In lesson 21, we learned the character huan, meaning to play or have a good time. If you recall, it also can be pronounced fourth tone, wan, as in 古玩, especially when referring to antiques or art objects. Well, now we have 赏玩, or some people turn it around and say 玩赏, meaning to admire the beauty of something, to delight in collecting things such as stamps, coins, or jade carvings. Native speakers seem to reserve second tone 玩 for living things, and prefer fourth tone 玩 for objects. A cat fancier would be 玩赏猫的人, and 英国玩赏可卡犬 would be an English toy spaniel. Cocker spaniel, that is. 我爸爸是古玉万赏行家，不易上当。My dad's a connoisseur of ancient jade, and not easily fooled. And now we come to a polite expression, 赏光, literally, to grace us with your glory. Variously rendered in less flowery English as, would you do me the honor of your presence? Or, we request the pleasure of your company. Actually, it doesn't sound that stilted in Chinese unless paired with other formal turns of phrase. so it can be used in conversation when inviting someone to join any type of dinner or other function. 后天的聚餐，您肯赏光吗？ Would you like to attend the dinner the day after tomorrow? 不知道你跟你太太能不能赏光？ I was wondering if you and your wife could attend. 请跟我一道去用餐，可以赏光吗？ I'd love for you to have dinner with me. The fourth character in today's lesson is composed of phonetic sheng with zhi from lesson 69. It's pronounced second tone, chang, chang, and means to taste, try, or experience something. It can be found written in two other less common ways, as shown in the speech bubbles. Zhi from lesson 69 is the drawing of a spoon carrying food to the mouth. And I pointed out at the time that the bottom portion of zhi was actually an abbreviated version of gan, meaning sweet or tasty. It's not surprising then that this new character, chang, means to distinguish the flavors in food, incorporating the phonetic sheng for its connotation of objects upon an altar which are separate and distinct from any others. In this case, the flavors of food. 那是我尝过最好的一餐了. That was the most delicious meal I have ever tasted. 你有没有尝过道地的中国早餐? Have you ever tasted a real Chinese breakfast? 我想尝尝当地著名的山猪肉. I'd like to try the wild boar meat this area is known for. 他正在品尝称心如意的生活. She's savoring, or she's enjoying the good life. Remember that 品 in lesson 45 shows three separate objects with the extended meaning of to rank, grade, or appraise. Literally, separate articles into categories. So, 品 is a natural fit with chang, 品尝, to taste food, tea, or wine in order to appraise or appreciate it. 你要是品尝我的牛角面包，你肯定会买. If you taste my crescent rolls, you'll definitely buy some. Here's an expression used as a sort of rhetorical question. 何尝? Along the lines of English, how is it possible that? Literally, how can you taste the difference? How can you know this? 你说的这些，我何尝不明白呢? How could I not understand what you're talking about? 你说我贪心，可是人何尝不都是如此呢? You call me greedy, but isn't everyone? 你不曾有过的东西，你又何尝失去什么? How can you lose something you never possessed? 你想要的，其他人何尝不想要呢? Don't others want the same thing you do? The fifth character in this lesson is composed of 走 with sheng phonetic. Pronounced fourth tone, tang, tang. It originally referred to the way a bird hops back and forth on the ground. Remember that word hop, because in English it can refer to a short airplane flight. For example, I'm going to hop over to Paris for the weekend. From London, that is. Chinese uses 趟 in the same way to describe a trip back and forth. 那一趟可真把她累死了. That back and forth trip exhausted her. 我反正没事，就跟你走一趟吧. I have nothing to do anyway, so I'll go with you. 你可以挪出时间到中国去一趟吗? Can you take time out to make a trip to China? 不在，我们约好了。我不是白来一趟吗? Not here. We had an appointment. You mean I made this trip for nothing? 趟 can also refer to a trip by train or boat, similar to the way 班 is used for buses and trains. 往南京的列车1小时开出一趟. There's a train for Nanjing every hour. 你要坐的那趟火车10分后才到. The train you want won't be here for another 10 minutes. For our sixth character today, we need to review 知 from lesson 32, a hand holding a bamboo stick. Anyone familiar with bamboo knows that its hollow trunk grows very strong and straight, making it ideal for supporting or propping something up. Our next element is not a standalone character in modern Chinese, but it closely resembles 知. It's also a hand holding a stick, with the stick later replaced by 卜 to aid in pronunciation. This element is pronounced pu and appears on the right side of many characters, referring to beating or punishment. It can be written in two different ways, as I've shown here. When paired with the shang phonetic, we get a new third tone character, chang, chang. It's a depiction of a hand beating a high stone ridge to create a flat area to serve as a lookout post. From this lookout post, a wide swath of the surrounding territory could be surveyed at a glance. The modern meaning of chang is open, spacious, or broad. 爸爸的大衣敞开着. Dad's overcoat was unfastened, literally wide open. 把真话说出来，心里也就敞开了. Tell the truth and get it off your chest. Literally, open your heart wide. 你不要敞着大门，我会着凉. Don't leave the door open, I'll catch cold. 为什么后门是敞着的？我去关。Why is the back door open? I'll go close it. As I've explained several times before, there are countless homonyms in Mandarin, so many that a character is often paired with another one of similar meaning for clarity. Over 66% of the most common Mandarin words are polysyllabic, that is, composed of 2 or more characters. That's an astonishing amount. For this reason, I've added a new character that frequently combines with chang to create a polysyllabic word meaning wide, broad, or spacious. This character shows a mountain ram with huge horns standing under a roof. Pronounced first tone, huan, huan. As my official Chinese dictionary says, any room wide enough to allow a full-grown ram to trot through it is definitely spacious. The animal itself is a rare character that serves as the phonetic, pronounced huan. It's not important enough to remember, but notice the correct way to draw its horns. Many people today substitute the grass radical instead, and often forget the animal's cute little tail. The simplified version does both, because few people know what a huan is anyway. All this to say that the usual way to say broad or wide is 宽敞. 这间屋子宽敞又明亮. This room is spacious and bright. 别看我的车子小，里面相当宽敞. My car may look small, but it's quite roomy inside. 左右两面都要一样宽. Both sides should be the same width. 加宽 means to widen, literally to add width. 工人已把街道加宽了不少. Workers widened the street quite a bit. Factories are often wide spaces filled with workers under one large roof. So the eighth character in today's lesson is 厂. Plus the same open shed element we saw in 马, 厅, and unstressed 么. This character for a wide floored factory is also pronounced third tone 厂. 这是什么厂出品的汽车? What make of car is this? Literally, what factory is this car a product of? The complete expression for a factory is 工厂. 我堂哥是在当地工厂当过电工. My cousin has worked as an electrician at the local factory. 北京的阴霾问题是因为工厂很多. Beijing's smog problems are due to the high number of factories. 他在工厂里埋头工作了10个小时. She labored non-stop for 10 hours in the factory. Before our next character, we need to learn its most important component, a cloth worn on the front of the body. Or more specifically, a towel or scarf, pronounced first tone, 巾, 巾. It's a simple drawing of a piece of hanging cloth. This element will often be found in characters referring to clothing, flags, and banners. Worn on the head, 头巾, could be a turban, kerchief, or shawl. 头上围着白头巾的女人从门口看我们. A woman in a white shawl watched us from the doorway. Wrapped around the head or shoulders is 围巾, a scarf or muffler. 她围上了围巾以后就出门了. After donning a scarf, she left. 她脱去了大衣跟围巾. She removed her overcoat and headscarf. 毛巾 is the general word for a towel, regardless of material. 我的毛巾到哪儿去了? Where did my towel go? Of course, 餐巾 would be a table napkin. And if pre-packaged and wet, would be 湿巾. 用餐时，我小女儿有意地把餐巾丢地上. At dinner, my little girl deliberately throws her napkins on the floor. The 10th and final character today is a combination of phonetic 上 with 巾. Pronounced second tone, 长, 长. It originally referred to a loincloth or skirt covering the lower body. However, that specific meaning and pronunciation have been taken over by裳 with the clothing radical yi underneath, as you can see in the little speech bubble. In most societies, both ancient and modern, clothing is essential for basic protection. Men may opt to go topless during warm weather, baring their back and shoulders, but no one, male or female, goes bottomless. For this reason, this original loincloth character was borrowed to mean common, constant, natural, and normal, and as an adverb to mean frequently, usually, or often. 这个锅子我常用. I often use this pan. 常言 is a common or popular saying. 常言里面包含真理. Popular sayings contain a grain of truth. 常言道一心不能二用. As the saying goes, no one can do two things at once. 常理 means something generally agreed upon, or a convention. 乍看之下，这好像完全违反了常理. At first glance, this seems to completely go against convention. 日常 means day-to-day or daily, as in 日常工作, routine duties, and 日常生活, daily life. Whom 在日常使用的英语中很少用到. In everyday English, whom is rarely used. 如常 means normally or as usual. 那家工厂好像一切如常，可是要关门了. That factory seems to be running normally, but it's about to shut down. 明天要如常上班. We have to go to work as usual tomorrow. This is referring to a day of heavy snow. 人之常情 is an idiom meaning what is natural and normal in human relationships, or a normal human response. 想出人头地是人之常情. Trying to get ahead in this world is totally natural and normal. 正常 more specifically refers to what is normal. 父母不了解儿女的事情是正常的. It's normal for parents not to understand their children's affairs. 刘家的哥哥头脑不大正常. The Liu family's eldest son is not quite right mentally. 下了那么多雪，火车能正常行驶吗? With this heavy snow, can the trains operate normally? 如何使两国关系正常化? How to normalize relations between the two countries? This is a discussion topic rather than a complete sentence. The opposite of 正常 is 反常, something unusual, abnormal, perverse, or strange. 他昨天的心情有点反常. He was in a rather unusual mood yesterday. 他的反常行为惹了不少闲话. Her strange behavior caused tongues to wag. 失常 means to perform below one's normal capacity, to be off one's form. 你知道她为什么有一点失常吗? Do you know why she's not her usual self? 生理机能失常 physiological dysfunction. 生理 literally, the logic of life, means physiological or biological processes. Now we come to the common adverb expressions for usually or often. 通常 refers to the regularity of an action or activity, regardless of the number of times it occurs. 下班后，我通常把电话关了。I usually turn off my phone after work. 这个字通常含有负面的意思。This character usually has a negative connotation. 工人们通常在5点30分下班。Workers usually clock out at 5:30. 常常 is the most common way to say frequently, often, usually, or generally. 我常常力不从心。My strength often fails me. 这两个术语常常通用，没多大分别。These two technical expressions are often interchangeable, with no difference in meaning. 他们常常因小事而口角。They often argue over trifles. 时常 is a less common way to say frequently or often. 我时常听人说到这两家世仇的事情。I often hear people mention the feud between the two families. 我们时常约他们在这家餐厅吃火锅。We often invite them to this hot pot restaurant for dinner. In Lesson 30, we learned the character 往 to go forward, and 往往 meaning often or frequently, based on past experience. A similar expression is 往常 to say something happened habitually in the past, or something that one used to do. 今天食堂里比往常吵得多。The canteen is noisier than usual today. 你到的比往常早，是怎么回事？ You're earlier than usual. How come? 跟往常一样，电脑一直宕机。As usual, the computer is constantly breaking down. 我像往常一样叫他，今天他就是不理我。I greeted her like I always do, but today she's ignoring me. Here is our color chart with today's 10 characters. 金、长、烫、长、宽、长、长、英、赏、长, and two versions of the radical only, pu. Here's a recap from today's lesson. 1. 7 of today's 10 characters take nàng as phonetic. Second tone, tang, depicts a raised foundation of earth and stones, on which a temple or palace was built. It can now be applied to any large hall. 2. By adding the symbol for shell money, the character for showing appreciation and enjoyment, nàng, was created. 3. Chang, meaning to taste or differentiate various flavors, combines the elements for spoon and sweetness with nàng phonetic. 4. The character tang was invented to describe the hopping back and forth of sparrows, and now most commonly refers to short trips to a specific destination and back again. English uses the verb hop in much the same way. 5. The radical pu indicating the action of beating or punishing, was introduced in this lesson because it was paired with裳 to describe the flattening of a mountain ridge to make a lookout post. The higher the lookout post, the wider the view it afforded of the terrain below, giving裳 the meaning of broad and spacious. The character huan was included because huan is the most common adjective for anything wide with plenty of space. 6. That same character for broad and spacious becomes the phonetic in the character for a factory, an open-air space filled with workers bearing tools. If you recall, gong is an earth-flattening tool used to compact the earth for the solid foundation of a building. 7. The cloth radical was also added in this lesson, not only because it's an important radical, but also because it's part of裳, meaning a loincloth or garment covering the waist on down. Since no one exposes their posterior in public, this lower garment,裳 was chosen to represent the idea of always or repeatedly. Now you will find a short quiz on double, triple character, and longer expressions. Answer using only the characters learned so far. Thank you for watching and listening.